And now, Shadowmoon Valley. Actually, before we begin, this is as good a time as any to discuss the Aldor and the Scryers. The Aldors trace their existence all the way back to Velen, who functioned more as priests than warriors, and as such, were ill-prepared to defend the Holy City from the demonic horde. When Adal came to Outland, the Aldor were reborn into a fighting force, and this force was laid in defense of an assault on Shattrath by Kael'thas's Blood Elves. Except, the assault never came. These Blood Elves, led by Vorenthal, laid down their weapons and defected to the Army of the Light. This group, known as the Scryers, consisted of some of the elite of Kael'thas's forces, as well as a decent bulk of the recent pilgrims through the Dark Portal after its reopening. Both factions hated each other. This attitude has led to issues between the two groups for some time, but under the direction of the Naru Za'iri, they were ordered to set aside this rivalry in order to begin the invasion of Shadowmoon Valley. Begrudgingly, the two groups de-escalated from hating to barely tolerating. Shadowmoon Valley was easily the most fel-infused location on Outland, something the expedition had barely touched, and it's possible the valley would never be properly restored. This much corruption was entirely due to Gul'dan, who used an ancient ritual known as the Cipher of Damnation to shred the orcs' connection to the elemental energies of Draenor, severing their link to the elements and leaving them more vulnerable to fel corruption. This meant functioning at even a basic level was dangerous, well beyond anything experienced in the comparatively tame Hellfire Peninsula. The Horde, Alliance, Aldors, and Scryers had to pour regular shipments of supplies, food, and personnel just to keep operating. Such efforts were not assisted by the large Legion bases maintained nearby, continuing Kil'jaeden's deceit that Illidan was the demon lord responsible for the attacks on their people. There were actual Illidari present, of course, who were currently operating the orders of "Keep them away from me, I'm busy," left by Illidan not so long ago, with one notable exception. The Dragonmaw clan maintained its headquarters here, and had spent considerable time and resources bending the Netherwing flight to their will. Netherdrakes had been spotted sporadically across Outland, but their main concentration was on the Netherwing Ledge. The Netherwing flight was unique, as none of them had been born prior to the shattering of Draenor. They had been eggs, black dragonflight eggs, and when the shattering happened, it exposed them to the Nether energies and mutated them. It also freed them of the old god influence in the process. Led by Neltharaku, the Netherwing flight enlisted the aid of a few brave, adventurous types to infiltrate and sabotage the Dragonmaw clan from within. A task which effectively crushed the Dragonmaw's capacity to operate on a large scale, and would result in precious few of the Dragonmaw surviving the ordeal. The Netherwing, freed from their enslavement, willingly threw in with the Horde Alliance force as they prepared to charge the Black Temple. Though, as an aside, the Dragonmaw were visited by a black dragonflight matriarch, Sinestra, the surviving mother of Nefarian and Onyxia. Sinestra bargained with the Dragonmaw in exchange for some of their captured Netherwing eggs, stating only that her master could have use of them. Meanwhile, well-meaning adventurers had discovered an old orc spirit bound by an altar of shadows who sought aid in discovering the location of the now-deceased Terran Gorefiend. In truth, the spirit is Gorefiend and used the adventurers to free himself, returning to his dead human host and fleeing into the Black Temple. The Horde Alliance force did have an unexpected ally in all of this. The Ashtung Deathsworn, Illidan's most loyal followers under the command of the wayward Akama. Akama played a very dangerous game. He could not lie in his deceptions to Illidan lest he be revealed as disloyal, and he could not act openly, as Illidan held his very soul hostage. At length, the Horde Alliance force was able to assist Akama, retrieving an artifact that would allow him to reclaim his soul and redirecting Illidan's attentions towards the betrayal of Kael'thas. With these pieces in place, the assault on the Black Temple began, right as Illidan was beginning the raid on Mardum to claim the Sargerite Keystone. The majority of the forces charged right down the middle, commanded by Za'iri and bolstered by Aldor and Scryer regiments. But a smaller, elite unit of the Horde Alliance force snuck in through a crack in the wall, leading up to and through the sewers. There they discovered even here was well defended, patrolled by Illidan's personal Coilfang bodyguards and the High Warlord Nagentis. Breaking out into the training grounds, they discovered Supremus, a tremendously large abyssal. Powered by the arcane energies of the Shrine of Lost Souls, this siege weapon served as deterrent for invading armies. Bypassing Supremus, the adventurers beelined for Akama's soul. It was a fierce contest between Illidari Ashtongue and Akama Ashtongue, but in the end, Akama reclaimed the soul of the broken and released the Ashtongue from Illidari control permanently. With the sudden appearance of allies in enemy lines, the Horde Alliance force was able to start sweeping through the temple at rapid pace. They encountered the miscreant Terran Gorefiend, who had been attempting to ingratiate himself amongst the Shadowmoon forces within, and ended his life once again. They also found Gurtog Bloodboil, one of the only remaining dire orcs who ruled the Fell Horde survivors in Illidan's name. Both slain, the group next stumbled upon the Shrine of Lost Souls. This place was a font of tremendous energy, both spirit and arcane, empowered by thousands of dead Draenei Illidan had siphoned from Auchindoun, as well as his last vial from the Well of Eternity. Illidan had used the shrine to feed his loyal demons, freeing them from Legion service, and intended to use its power to craft a portal to Argus once he had the Sargerite keystone. Further in, the highest of the Illidari forces were all that remained in opposition. Demons, such as the Mother Sharaz, and the Illidari Council, who had orders to keep the Horde Alliance force away from Illidan at all cost. An order they were unable to keep. Illidan was the most dangerous foe the adventurers had faced to date. With his twin blades of Azzinoth and his own fell powers, the battle was fierce. Adventurers, Akama, and Maiev unified and successfully slew Illidan. Maiev had only moments to ponder her uncertain future when the Illidari, having successfully claimed the Sargerite keystone, returned from Mardum. Sadly, they were unprepared and were quickly captured and imprisoned alongside their leader's corpse in the Warden Den. These Illidari would not be heard from again for about 6 years. Flush with their perceived victory, the Aldors and Scryers agreed to further joint operations, and the Horde Alliance force gratefully withdrew from the blasted land, seeking gentler pastures.